All right, today we're going to talk about a little known bait from Reins. This is the 4-inch Rockvibe Shad, and it is a sneaky bait when you need a very finesse presentation. Not only is it kind of sneaky in your arsenal, but its actual characteristics, or it will help you sneak up on fish. It doesn't overly displace a ton of water. So we're gonna do a deep dive into when and how you can utilize this thing to catch fish, because when used at the proper times, this thing slays. So stay tuned, we're gonna dive into it on our segment of the day, coming up next.
Two-time NPFL champ, SaveMore Outdoors pro from Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Put your hands together for the hookup, Shad Soka.
Welcome back, Joe here. Let's dive into another SaveMore FishMore segment of the day. Again, I'm from the outer realm, and today we're gonna talk about a bait that can be utilized way off the bank out in the outer realm, and that is the Reins 4-inch Rockvibe Shad. This thing has a slender profile to it. It doesn't displace very much water, and it is fantastic when utilized at the right times. So let's dive into when those times are and how you guys can utilize this best. So I'm gonna take you through 3 times to take a look at this thing. So first and foremost, what does the bait look like? Well, it is your standard 4-inch profile. You can probably see it pretty good up against my white shirt. 4-inch profile. It's got a pretty cylindrical front half of its body and a back half that allows for a good amount of movement. This thing really wobbles and twitches well. I bet it would swim really great on a drop shot, but I'm not gonna act like I've tried that before. But this thing is fantastic to me, in my opinion, because of its small little boot. It's got a very narrow boot on the end of it. Okay, it's not a wide boot. It's not a circle like you see on a Kitech Swing Impact, or like you'd see on a Reactions Innovation Skinny Dipper or Little Dipper. This thing is a narrow boot. It has the same kind of length, but it's narrow, it's not round. And what that does is it allows for you to displace less water and for this thing to be less intrusive at certain times of the year when that is what you were trying to achieve. And for me, when I think subtlety, the #1 time of the year I'm always thinking is winter leading into the pre-spawn. All right, we're talking like 45, 50 degree water, well before those fish start getting into creeks or getting into pockets to spawn. We're talking when they're deep, when they're out in the end of that wintertime pattern. If we rewind to like 2018, when Casey Ashley won the Bassmaster Classic on his home lake, Lake Hartwell, he was fishing a fluke on a Roadrunner. All right, and what he was doing is he was casting down these ditches that led these creeks towards the backs of spawning areas. But he was out off of the main lake in these ditches, okay? Not up on points, not up on flats, but down in the ditches, okay? And he was rolling that Roadrunner really slow. Well, I like to utilize this Rockvibe shaker in the exact same way. I take the skirt off of our Lucky Strike 3/8 ounce football jig. I check my Rockvibe shaker. It's got a tiny, very almost unnoticeable keel on the belly. So I want kind of the rounded, almost very flat backside. That's where my hook's gonna come out. Feed this thing nice and straight. All right. And then the last thing that I do with this is I usually use my needle nose pliers to pull the weed guard out. I don't utilize this weed guard when I'm fishing this thing in ditches, especially on herring lakes. okay? What I'm doing, I'm casting this thing out usually with a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader on my 20-pound braided line on a spinning rod. And I'm fishing anywhere from 25 to 50 feet of water, depending on if I'm on Lanier or if I'm on Lake Hartwell. Whenever I'm fishing these herring lakes and fishing these ditches for these really pre-spawn kind of end of winter time bass, what I am doing is I'm trying to keep this thing in contact with the bottom. So that braided line to a fluoro leader helps give me a lot of feedback. The bait hits the bottom. I don't have like 15-pound fluoro having a big bow in my line. All right, I get a lot of instant feedback, a nice straight line through the water column once this thing hits the bottom. And then I'm slowly creeping that handle, trying to stay in contact with the bottom. Now, when I need ultra sensitivity, you'd think to yourself, well, why wouldn't you use a tungsten jig head, Joe? Honestly, I lose so many jig heads doing this that if I use tungsten, I'd have to trolling motor up and try to get everyone out, so I wasn't wasting the money on losing tungsten jig heads. When I'm using a lead jig head on a spinning rod, I'm okay losing 3 or 4 of these in a day if that means I don't have to burn up that cast angle to go get that bait. All right. Usually what happens is I've side scanned around in these ditches. I've located the good marks that I want to fish for, kind of glued to the bottom. I see those fish on side scan. I'm able to lay a waypoint on them, roll back around, set up a cast angle, make a good cast at these fish. And usually if I get hung up, I don't want to have to go get that bait. I want to break it off and I want to quick retie another one on. And it takes 2 seconds to get another one of these baits rigged up. You can do it ultra fast. So this is the #1 way I like to utilize this Reins Rockvibe shaker on a football head in 45-degree water, trying to get those fish to eat something subtle, something I can kind of sneak up to them, and then they kind of just have to eat it because they're not going to pass up a meal that time of the year when they don't have to burn a lot of energy to get that thing caught. All right, so that's way #1 that I utilize this bait. Way #2 is in the post spawn. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Reins Rockvibe shaker and I'm rigging it as a trailer on a finesse swim jig. For me, that's the Jackal B crawl. The B crawl is what I use when I'm using like 17 or 18 pound test fluorocarbon, not 20 or 25 pound fluoro or even 50-pound braid to swim a jig. We're talking clear water where I have like 4 to 8 feet of visibility. When I want to fish a swim jig around submerged grass in the post spawn, but I don't want something to be intrusive. I don't want to scare these fish away. This is my choice of a trailer, okay? The 4-inch Rockvibe shaker doesn't displace a ton of water, but it also looks really natural. So I put that on a green pumpkin swim jig. I usually like a watermelon trailer on a green pumpkin swim jig or any kind of like subtle bluegill. I'm not talking like oranges and blues. I'm just talking like a green pumpkin, pretty much swim jig. Maybe there could be like a little bit of an Okeechobee craw blueness to that swim jig. But really, we're going standard green pumpkin, watermelon trailer, and to me that matches a perch, that matches a bluegill, or maybe that's just a really big alewife, okay? To me, it is the perfect way to fish a finesse swim jig on fluorocarbon in crazy clear water that we have up north. Something to think about. We're used to using like a speed craw whenever we're fishing it in dirty water, whenever we're kind of doing the Alabama shake with our rod tip. That's not what I'm doing whenever I'm using this, all right? I'm trying to be subtle. I'm just working my way through tiny, short patches of grass that somehow survived the winter. We don't have a lot of that up north. When the lakes ice over, a lot of that grass dies off. So I'm fishing really finessey, real slow, kind of bumping a little bit in and through that grass, trying to just be subtle and be finesse. And that Rockvibe shaker, or that Rockvibe Shad, is the ultimate swim jig trailer. All right, so that's 2 times I like to utilize this. The last time, I will fish the Reins Rockvibe shaker on a ball head as well. If I want to have something that's a little longer in profile than, say, a 3-inch Hazadong. 3-inch Hazadong is tiny. If I want something that's a little longer, and I might want to move like a little bit faster, again, especially on herring fisheries, the bubble and shaker is great for that because you don't have to worry about the bubble and shaker rising up. You get a 4-inch bait, but since the paddle tail doesn't displace too much water, it will stay at the perfect water column depth. Once you start reeling it, you don't really have to worry about it rising up on you. So you can utilize that Rockvibe Shad just like you would a 3-inch Hazadong, but you can get a 4-inch bait profile so that you can match the hatch a little bit better. All right. So I will throw it on a ball head, and I will do that as well, especially whenever I'm kind of looking at it on forward-facing sonar. I'm usually throwing it on a spinning rod with like a 1/4 ounce or a 5/16 ounce ball head and just kind of watching it while I'm reeling it in. Maybe I'm going across points and I'm just kind of seeing if I can get anything to kind of come out off of the bottom and react to it, whether they're in the immediate pre-spawn or immediate post-spawn. All right, so good little bait. Fry garters, especially in your spawn, immediate post-spawn, you can get a lot of males to react to this bait on a ball head. So it'll definitely put some numbers in the boat if that's what you're kind of looking to do and what you need to accomplish on that specific day. So don't sleep on the Reins Rockvibe Shad. Has a variety of uses. Just make sure you're using it at the right time. This for me is not a dirty water player. It is a clear water player, and it is a big player whenever I need to get a bite in finicky situations. So thanks for sticking with us today. I know this was kind of a long one. We'll see you guys at SaveMoreOutdoors.com, or we'll see you out on the water soon. Take it easy, guys. Peace.